How's it going, guys? My name is Franker and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going through our monthly analysis for the month of October. So September just wrapped up. It was a better month than expected. So in this video, we'll pretty well just go through what happened in September, what it means for October, and basically our plan looking forward for Bitcoin and a few different cryptocurrencies. And if you're new to this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're one sub of 750, so if you are that one guy, let's hit that subscribe button. Or if you're here and we're already at 750 subscribers, consider pushing us up to 800 and above. And we do have some referral codes down in the description below for a variety of exchanges if you guys are interested at all. Starting things off with Bitcoin, we have been looking at this 4-year cycle for a long time now, and it's been pretty straightforward. It looks like it's going to sort of line up perfectly. We are in the pre-halving pullback still, which is now September finishing. It's pushing out to its 7th calendar month. So it's, extending out sort of like we expected. As you guys can see, we'll just have a quick look back. We've gone through this quite a bit, so we'll skim through it really fast. Green parabolic year, red down year, 2 years to the prior all-time high. And you see this repeat time and time again. And the other thing that repeats time and time again is a pre-halving pullback, or what it starts at this before the halving and then finishes, or the breakout, excuse me, happens after the halving. These black lines represent each Bitcoin halving, and you can see peak into the halving or just prior to the halving, and then a 6-month accumulation to the breakout. Longer one here during COVID, but peak before the halving, and then a large accumulation phase. And same thing again, peak before the halving, and then a decently long accumulation phase. So pretty well, you guys, you can see that we're just about at the end of this 2-year accumulation phase. At 24 months is, the way we've recorded it is November 1st. So give or take a little bit on November 1st, that is when we're expecting a breakout of the prior all-time high, which was 69,000, just about on the dot. But pretty well, what was it exactly? 68,997 according to this chart. But, give or take a little bit, of course. Things played out a little bit differently than we were expecting, with the push to the prior all-time high being in March. But obviously that, a large pullback or pre-halving pullback, as we like to call it, did occur, which sort of brung things back into the cycle. These cycles, they don't play out the same every time. Quite obviously, they play out a little bit different each and every time, but ultimately the end points are quite similar, is sort of what we're saying. You can see same thing again. I'm sure people weren't expecting a 17-month pre-halving pullback. If you were following this theory at this point in time, I'm sure you weren't expecting a 17-month pullback. Apologies, apparently I'm running an ad blocker. I don't even remember turning an ad blocker on, so you're just gonna have to deal with this just for this video until I figure out how to turn off the ad blocker. Quite annoying, but it is what it is. We're gonna push through because it is October 1st, and I'm gonna get this video out on time. But point of the story is things play out differently every time, but they are largely the same in the end. Now, if we just take a look at this a little bit closer, sort of some of the projections, I've put this on a chart just to give myself a bit of an idea of what we're looking at. Obviously, this being the March top, and we sort of were talking a long time ago, potentially about 100, that this pullback would likely last 6 months or about 180 days. So that's that first line just here. The second line being, the extension out 201 bars being October 1st, which is where we are at now. So we've been down essentially for 201 days. And then the furthest one, 232 days, that is November 1st. And that is, essentially we're expecting our breakout, sort of between October, November, and December. That some point we'll break out at 69,000. Hence we've got sort of just like our little target circle just there. Which looks to be playing out quite well. Obviously in the short term as well, you can see that we've broken above the 50% level. We've sort of held up quite well above that. You can see that we've also put in some higher lows. So things are looking really good for Bitcoin in both the short and the long term. Now back to ETH, we've been looking at sort of this $4,000 level being major resistance for quite some time now. And you can see that we did have sort of the worst case scenario in terms of pullbacks. We did come all the way back down to the trend line, which we said was probably worst case scenario. But since then, ETH has held up decently well. Obviously, next point of contention is going to be that, if I can figure out where it is, about 2,800 point level, which you guys can see is just a little bit of overhead resistance. But we got to wait and see essentially just how this plays out exactly, with Bitcoin looking quite bullish. I think ETH is just a matter of time until it sort of starts to catch up and make its own returns. But at this point in time, just in a little limbo stage. Maybe we come back down to the trend line, sure. Maybe we push back up higher. As long as we just hold some higher lows and higher highs here, I don't really see a major issue for ETH. Now, Crow has obviously been in a pretty large pullback at this point in time, but nothing really new for Crow. I had to look back just briefly at some of the prior pullbacks. You can see 71%, 67%, or closer to 68% really, and then 63%. So you can see this is quite normal for Crow. If anything, the volatility is actually dropping off a little bit. This is sort of one of its most reasonable pullbacks, which is kind of crazy, right? 60%, but that is just what you get with these altcoins, and history shows it is quite common for these altcoins to have large pullbacks. But sorry, this chart is on logarithmic as well, hence those trend lines don't match up. Anywho, you can see that we've been in a bit of a Wyckoff accumulation phase. We just come back down and retested some of these lows. The good thing is, which you can see I've highlighted, is that we've actually broken off. That is the low, that wick you can see, but I just have it covered in the pullback. And you can see that we did come back down, test this trend line, which we're talking about, which is the monthly swing low. You can see that was put in January, but we held that up on the daily closes, which was good. Put in some higher lows, since then broken up higher to this swing top that we had back in April last year, obviously a long time ago, but you can see that's still really paying dividends in terms of a trend line with support, resistance, support, resistance, support, resistance, right? It's a pretty key point. But the big one really is that 10-cent mark yet again. We have to sort of push high, consolidate above 10%, and 10 cents. And then I think it's sort of a lot more off to the races for Crow. Yes, we did push up. We had some resistance there. We pushed up a bit higher, probably got a little bit overheated. And then, this is obviously all during the pre-halving pullback as well. So quite a long, accumulation phase, you could say, but Crow's not looking really in any bad shape. Still just really looks like it's just still coming out of its Wyckoff accumulation, and it'll look to push up higher later in the bull market, obviously once Bitcoin and cryptos as a whole start to push up a little bit higher. Now, as for Sol is still one of the best performing cryptocurrency as a whole. You can see, this is on a logarithmic chart. But if we change it to just a normal chart, you can see that it is holding up above its 50% level, which is really good. It's, out of all the cryptocurrencies, ETH, not Bitcoin, but ETH, Crow, this is still the one that is, held up the best. You can kind of see, I didn't mean to move that. But you can kind of see it's, starting to put in some higher lows similar to Bitcoin. It's on a far more similar trajectory to Bitcoin, albeit a little bit more volatile in the sense that, that's, a pretty big retracement there. If we have a look at this in terms of some price ranges that it's withdrawn, you can see that's about a 50% correction. But then obviously to the upside, right, and, quite significant moves as well. Price range, we go from the bottom to the top there, you can see, like 200% move up, or just about 170% up, and then 50% down. This is just what you get with altcoins, far more volatile, but in terms of structure, it is looking in a really good spot. Held up against its 50%, just a brick wall, that $125 range there, just holding really strong. I think if we can see Bitcoin start to push up a bit higher, Solana will just follow suit. And if we have a look at this on the monthly returns chart, now we sort of said last month that, perhaps, whilst we're of the belief or the opinion that Bitcoin is ready for an imminent breakout, that September may not be the month. Now, of course, September wasn't, the massive breakout month, but it did perform better than expected, or at least better than history shows, I suppose. But the big thing is here, I think, is that you can see that when September's green, you only have to look at what happens afterwards, right? September green leads to, a pretty good rest of the year. September green, pretty good rest of the year. September green, pretty good rest of the year. And then if we follow that forward a little bit further, right, 24 going into 25, assuming this is another good year, that's sort of what we want to look at, the final year of the, my screen's frozen. Like if we pull out a little bit and have a look at this with regards to our cycle, we're in 24 going into 25. This is, 20 going into 21, 16 going into 17. If we have a look at these years, you can see that if we go back, so we've got 20 going into 21. So obviously September green, but still, October, November, December, you know, January, February, March, all green months. A really, really good year for Bitcoin going into the end of the year and then into that new year at the top of the cycle. And then if we have a look across to where are we looking, 2016, obviously green September, really, really good to have a green September. And then October, November, December, you know, all green. And then you go across and you got, you know, barely red, January, February, you know, bit of a pullback, but then, you know, same thing again, rest of the year is looking pretty bullish. So, you know, 17, 21, 25, that's sort of what we're looking at with this 4-year cycle. We'll have to see how exactly it plays out, but a green September, obviously a very good start as history would show. I mean, if you know, put this on a chart, you'll say that 100% of the time when September is green, the rest of the year is also green. So that's, you know, you can only really put the odds in your favor, but that is a pretty good start for me and shows me that perhaps there are good things to come for the rest of the year. So thank you all so much for watching. Hopefully that was a bit of a shorter one. I'm not really 100% sure how long that went for, but you know, briefly covered things. Not much has really changed, guys. Whilst we're in this, you know, the ad blockers are going to be the death of me, but I need to turn off this ad blocker. I don't know how I don't even remember turning it on, but you can see, you know, as we're in this blue accumulation phase, nothing really changes. It's just a lot of chop, a lot of churn. Just don't change your outlook in the short, or, you know, the short to medium term. You know, we're looking a lot more long term, and, you know, things are just playing out as we expect it to, for the most part. And hopefully things continue as projected into 2025. If you did enjoy, remember to hit that subscribe button. We're pushing for 800 subs. And if there's any other content, you know, we do a lot of different exchange reviews, you know, just things like Koinly for your taxes, you know, a whole bunch of different things we just review. We got our monthly analysis. So if you want to go back and check out sort of our thought process throughout the, you know, past couple of years, that's really good as well, just to see how it evolves and how it changes, but how it also sort of largely stays the same, which is really the important part, how we've stuck to this thesis and it's paying off quite well so far. But yeah, any questions, feel free to comment down below. Referrals are in the description below. If we quickly go down to some, you know, you can see in the description here, you know, Australian exchanges like Coinspot, Swyftx, crypto.com, ByBit if you want to use that, or Koinly if you're looking to do your tax report. You're running out of time, I think, for tax. I think it's over now in October, but could also use it for next year as well. As I said, any questions, feel free to drop them down below, but that'll do for today, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.